Hello everyone and welcome back to the Catster YouTube channel, formerly known as the Excited Cats YouTube channel, with me, Dr. Luqman, bringing you another cat topic today. As always, this is your friendly reminder to please do hit that subscribe button, please do leave us a like as well, and as always, we welcome any comments you have. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Now, the holidays are upon us. Everyone is in holiday mode. Everyone is looking forward to the year end where they get to spend time with their loved ones, family, friends, relatives, children, etc. And of course, all of this brings with it the concept of giving gifts. Now, I personally think gifts are a fantastic thing. If you guys have anything you want to send me, I have a list I can send your way. But there is, somewhat of an ethical dilemma here which I'd like to discuss today, which is giving pets as gifts, specifically cats as gifts. Now, the fundamentals of a gift are that they should be something that, the recipient can enjoy, preferably something the recipient needs, and of course something that the recipient wouldn't have to put too much energy into taking care of. Now, unfortunately, around this time of year, many pets do get adopted into new homes. However, they are often given as gifts, and this poses a problem for both, the recipient getting the pet cat and, of course, the cat itself. So let's explore why it is considered a bad idea to give someone a cat or any other pet actually as a gift. First of all, it is very important to note that cats can live for, at least 10 years as a ballpark average. Many cats these days, due to advances in veterinary care and medicine, easily live well beyond that. It is not beyond the realm of possibility for cats to live for 15 to 20 years. And of course, this brings with it the concept of cats being a very long-term commitment. So if you give someone a pet cat as a gift, it is not something that they can just ignore after a few days, which is usually what eventually does happen with most gifts. Cats are, living beings. They have needs that need to be met every single day. So there's no cheat day or off day from having a cat. Cats need to be fed every day. They need to be given water every day. They need to have their litter box changed every day. They need to have social interactions every day as well as pets. So when you give someone a pet cat, you're actually not giving them a gift. In many ways, you are possibly giving them a responsibility they might not be fully aware of or fully ready to commit to. So therefore, cats are a very big time investment. And this actually rings true for any pet. There's no such thing really as a low maintenance pet. All pets have unique requirements. All pets have very unique nutritional needs. All pets have very unique social needs, etc., enclosure needs. And therefore, anytime you give someone a pet, it is a myth to assume that the pet will be low maintenance. There is a myth around that cats are low maintenance compared to dogs because people inaccurately believe that cats do not have to be taken for a walk every day. This, however, is partially true. However, to say that cats are low maintenance is very wrong because cats have other massive time commitments that you have to be able to fulfill in order to make sure that your pet is healthy. Now, in addition to the time commitment it takes to have a pet cat, there's also the other really important factor to consider, which is the money required in order to have a pet. Now, expenses are a part of taking care of any pet. Now, this is true for cats as well. Cats have routine expenses that you can expect, for example, their food and their routine veterinary visits. But what most people fail to account for is that many times your cat will end up at the veterinarian's office in the event of an emergency. Now, these are unanticipated expenses that most people cannot properly factor in when they are planning to have a cat. And of course, if a cat is given to someone as a gift, they would really not have any time to, decide or factor in these financial considerations about their pet cat. Now, are there alternatives? Yes, perhaps in some cases there are alternatives. They could get, friends or family to help with the medical bills of the cat. They could perhaps invest in pet insurance. And they could also perhaps get lucky and have a cat that does not really get sick that often. But it is nonetheless naive to assume that the only bills associated with a cat are going to be their food and regular vet visits. Therefore, cats require a lot of money. And As mentioned previously, since cats can live for well over a decade, this money is a very long-term expense as well. Third, you might not know if the person you intend to give a cat to has, the lifestyle which allows them to provide the cat with all the attention the cat needs. For example, if this is an individual who works for, let's say, 8 hours every day, and they are not home from the hours of 9 to 5, possibly a bit earlier because they have to leave to commute to work, and possibly they come back a bit later as well because of the commute back from work. If you give this person a kitten, this kitten will be denied the social interaction that young cats need when they are developing bonds with humans. And the lack of social interactions at this age particularly does very much have long-term ramifications. And the cat might just not be a very sociable cat in the future, which would of course make it very difficult to rehome the cat in the future as well. At other times, you might think that, people do have time to take care of a cat because they're home all the time, or perhaps because they have other family members, friends, housemates, etc. that are home all the time. So you might assume that this cat will not be deprived of social interaction. While this may be partially true, you do have to keep in mind that, once again, because cats are very long-lived, that circumstances might change. And most people who own pets for the first time find it particularly difficult to figure out what to do when they have to go out of town for, let's say, a holiday, a vacation, or in some circumstances, an emergency visit. They're not exactly sure on the protocol it takes to leave their pet. Next, you also have to consider the physical capabilities of the person you are giving the pet to. Now, this might sound really odd when it comes to a cat, because most people think that you have to be strong to, let's say, lift a very heavy dog, which is true. You do need strength to pick up a very large animal, and cats are relatively small, especially when compared to dogs. However, cats are what we like to call fragile but agile, and a cat that is skittish or nervous around humans can very easily squirm and, try to get away if they're handled, especially when they don't want to be handled. And this will likely be the case when the cat is brand new in a house, because the cat would be stressed being in a new environment, and the cat might not really appreciate human interaction. And someone who has just, found themselves as an owner of a cat in an unplanned circumstance where the cat was given as a gift might not necessarily know this. Now, some people are disabled and they do have difficulties with mobility or, picking up after themselves, or in this case, a cat. In other instances, you might have someone who would not be fully aware of how to pick up or manage or handle a cat, and they might inadvertently harm their pet by exerting too much force. Cats can and do get injured if they are not handled properly, especially when they're not supervised around children. This can sometimes compound into another issue, because a cat that is in pain while being handled inappropriately will often lash out and scratch or bite, which would make it so that your child or you or someone you know also needs medical attention, because cat bites can get infected at times. This brings us to another very interesting conundrum around the holidays. As we mentioned before, 'tis the season, everyone is meeting up with family, friends, relatives, people are going back to their hometowns, people are coming over to visit you, etc. And veterinarians are no different. They too would like to spend holidays with their family, friends, relatives, children, etc. And a veterinary clinic might not necessarily be open around Christmas. And most people who do adopt a new pet seem to understand that, an initial veterinary checkup is very important. However, they might find that the veterinary clinic is closed, and this might add to their stress. And this stress can be further compounded if it's the first time they've ever been handed a pet cat and they don't know what to do. Now, mind you, some 24-hour vet clinics and hospitals might be open at this time. It is not beyond the realm of impossibility that they would charge extra if they were to handle your case on a weekend or a public holiday or the holiday season. It is also important to remember that cats do require social interaction with humans. And if you're giving someone a pet cat, you have to make sure that they understand this point. And most people, unfortunately, do a comparison of cats to dogs, because dogs are also very popular pets. And they seem to forget that cats also do require human interaction. And the person you're giving the cat to might not be ready or might not be comfortable with, providing this for their cat. And again, I can't stress this enough that the cat is not going to be a pet that lasts for, a week or two. Unfortunately, there are instances where this does happen and pet shelters get crammed shortly after holiday seasons because people realize that they cannot take care of a pet, which is a very sad thing, but also a very true thing. In any event, because the cat has a life expectancy of at least a decade or so, you're looking at a very long-term commitment of social interactions as well. Finally, it is also important to note that you may not be fully aware of the medical history of the person you intend to give a pet cat to. Many people can be allergic to cats. Now, this does not mean that they are allergic to a cat's fur, and many people inaccurately assume that if they get them a cat that sheds less or a cat without any fur, for example, the Sphinx cat, that these people would be fine. This is usually not the case. In most instances, people with a cat allergy are actually allergic to specific proteins that these animals naturally make. In the case of cats specifically, it is usually a protein called FeLD1, feline D1 protein. It is found in various body tissues of the cat, but it is most common in a cat's saliva. And when a cat licks themselves, naturally, as part of the grooming process, this saliva gets deposited on their body. And eventually, when it dries up and the cat walks or shakes or moves, it'll become airborne. It will not be visible to the naked eye, and it's known as dander. And dander can cause allergies as well. So it is a misconception to say that just because a cat does not shed, which is also an inaccurate statement in itself, but I mean, just talking hypothetically, it is inaccurate to say that just because a cat does not shed, or just because a cat does not have fur, the cat will be hypoallergenic. In reality, there's no hypoallergenic cat out there. So you might be giving someone a gift that further poses a medical risk to them. In addition, you have to keep in mind that cats do have some health risks for people who are immunocompromised or for pregnant individuals. Now, these are risks that have been noted by the CDC. The most common risk over here is toxoplasmosis, which is a parasite that cats can transmit to humans, and if someone is pregnant for the first time, or if someone is pregnant and they have not been exposed to this parasite in their life, it can actually affect, a developing baby within the womb. So there are medical reasons why you have to seriously reconsider giving someone a pet. Now, that does not mean that you cannot contribute to animal welfare during the holiday seasons. And I could pretty much guarantee you that any pet shelter you go to would very much welcome, any kind of assistance you can provide. Be it your presence there for like physical work, or a donation, or awareness campaigns, or helping with their TNR campaigns, etc. So just because you should not give someone a pet cat as a gift does not mean that you cannot spend the holidays, contributing towards the welfare of pet cats, if that's your concern. Also, it is important to note that some people might actually be truly ready for a pet cat. So these could be your children or your friends or someone who you know very well, who have stated this multiple times, who you know for a fact are ready for a very long-term commitment. And you might be considering getting them a pet cat. In this case, it might be acceptable to go down this route and have them, and gift them, a pet as their Christmas present or their holiday present. However, we would still strongly advise checking with them one last time to make sure that they are truly ready instead of just springing it on them unannounced. Because if you spring it on them unannounced, they might not have all the supplies ready when the cat is adopted. So they might not have the cat's food bowls, the cat's water bowl or water fountain, litter boxes, litter, toys, a scratching post, perhaps an exercise wheel, perhaps a harness if they plan to leash train their cat. Perhaps they have always dreamed about having a catio, but it's not constructed yet. A cat door, a collar, a microchip, an appointment, etc. There are so many things that people have to, have on their checklist before a cat is adopted. So even if you know someone is ready for a cat, and it's someone you know really well and you trust them and you know they're very good with animals, etc., it is still best to actually ask them. And you know, they might appreciate the gesture anyway, that you're caring so much about them that you just want to double check for their own, you know, peace of mind, etc., before you adopt a cat. So that might actually be a positive. And keep in mind, there are other gifts out there as well. Gifts that are not long-term commitments, certainly gifts that are not living beings, that are considered much more appropriate. For example, you could buy them a new stethoscope, you can buy them plushies, you can buy them memorabilia from TV shows they once enjoyed. So we have Cersei Lannister. You can buy them, I guess, I don't know, books or something. I know this looks like my own wish list, so it's like a hint, but that's beyond the point. Anyway, there are a lot of like inanimate objects and stuff you can buy people as gifts that are definitely much better than giving them a live pet. So with that, we come to the end of this video, guys. Once again, this is me, Dr. Luqman with Catster, signing off. Again, reminding you, please do remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and of course, leave us a comment. I'll catch you on the next one. Till then, happy holidays. Please stay safe if you're traveling. I hope you have a safe trip, and bye-bye.